If you saw Kirby Smart's press conference earlier this week, you know he would basically run through a brick wall for two of his young inside linebackers. And that's what we're going to talk about in today's video, because Kirby Smart had some really eye-opening comments, not about the starters, CJ Allen and Raylan Wilson, although I know he loves those two as well, but the young ones, Chris Cole and Justin Williams, two guys who are entering their second season this spring, actually, and apparently they are turning heads. Kirby Smart basically lit up with, when he talked about these two. Here's what he had to say. Quote, both Chris Cole and Justin Williams are going to be really good football players. Both are very conscious, hard workers. He said it's funny because both of those guys have been mentioned multiple times by current players as guys who practice the hardest and give the most fire and energy during practice. They're both extremely hard workers. He said that multiple times, and I appreciate that about them. And listen, as we know, if you want to see the field, you better impress the staff on the practice field. You better give it everything you have and basically practice like it's a game. And so far, these two who are getting better and better are winning over Kirby Smart, Glenn Schumann, the rest of the staff, right? And this is a staff that knows how to develop linebackers, right? They've got 3 Butkus Award winners on their resume: Roquan Smith, Nakobe Dean, Jalen Walker. And if you're a Georgia fan, you're probably thinking, how in the world are they going to replace Jalen Walker? Now, from a talent perspective, they might not. But CJ Allen and Raylan Wilson, I want to talk about those two just for a second. That could be the best inside linebacker duo, not only in the SEC, but across college football. And I'm not saying that either one are going to lose their starting job to one of these two, young linebackers that, again, have really won over Kirby Smart. I'm saying these guys are going to push those two. CJ Allen and Raylan Wilson, I think, are bound for massive junior seasons this fall and will be playing in the NFL at one point. But these two young guys are not going to be on the bench for very long. And again, when you work as hard as they do and they bring the fire and passion, or as much fire and passion as anyone on the roster, to the practice field, that's how you see the field. That's how you get playing time. And we saw Chris Cole a little bit, actually not a little bit, we saw him in 14 games last year as a freshman. Didn't see as much of Justin Williams. I get a bunch of messages and stuff popping up on my phone. That's why I'm getting a little distracted. It's opening day, so I got the Braves tweeting left and right. But these two linebackers are going to play a significant role this season. And at some point, if you're Kirby Smart, Glenn Schumann, you got to find a way to get these guys on the field. But talking about Justin Williams specifically, who was the #1 linebacker in America in his recruiting class out of Texas, right? They went to Texas to grab the #1 linebacker in the country. And he came to Athens and didn't play as much last year as the other freshman, Chris Cole, that played in 14 games. So if you're Justin Williams, especially in this new era of college football, where if you're coming in as a 5-star or even a 4-star, if you're not playing, you could just say, all right, I'm done. I'm not going to work hard. I'm not going to compete with the guys in front of me. I want to play, so I'm going to transfer, right? He could have easily done that. And we've seen that happen to guys in the past, not only in Georgia, but basically across the country. But Justin Williams is different. He is a special player, and he loves Georgia. He brings a great attitude to practice every day. That's what Kirby talked about. But he's going to earn his playing time. He's not going to be on the bench very long. And I expect him, if he keeps developing, the way I'm hearing and how Kirby Smart is talking about, he's going to make a significant impact this year. But here's what Kirby had to say specifically about Justin Williams, who is quickly becoming, I think, one of his favorite players on the team. He said, quote, Justin is one of the more positive people I've ever been around. He inspires hustle and effort. I love his energy. He's never down in the dumps. He competes. He's the alpha you need at inside linebacker. He tried to add some weight, so he's been fighting that, but he competes. We're basing our team and our roster on culture, passion, and energy, and he embodies that. We want to embrace that with him. So if you're a Georgia fan, you're hearing that quote and you're like, okay, we're going to see a lot of this guy in the fall, especially if he continues to have the spring that he has. And listen, if you're out there competing and working hard and giving every rep 100% and practicing like it's a game, Kirby Smart's going to notice, and he's going to put you on the field. That's how you win the staff over, and that's how you earn a starting position. Now, I'm not saying Chris Cole and Justin Williams are going to take over and earn one of those starting jobs, but they could if one of the guys in front of him or them go down, right? So they're already earning the trust of the staff. Someone asked Justin Williams, how's your progression been over the last year and how have you gotten better? And he was able to speak with the media this week, which is a pretty big deal for someone his age. Here's what he had to say. He's a quote, "I think since last year I've become more vocal and taking more of a leadership role in that linebacker room, having more fire and energy and helping the younger guys because I was a younger guy last year. I was trying to learn the plays and learn so many more things. Now I'm in the film room every day, doing things better in the weight room and trying to lead the guys. I think the vocal leadership role is where I've improved the most on. I'm definitely taking more of an effort to that compared to last year," which is, easy to see because it's hard to lead as a freshman. But this guy, in just his second spring, he's only been with the program for 14, 15 months. He's saying, I'm learning the playbook. I'm trying to master it. I have the physical tools. Now it's up to me to be a vocal leader for the young guys. And when he says young guys, he's only really talking about two of them because they just signed two inside linebackers in last year's class, Zayden Walker, Anthony Krua. So he's already, kind of showing the new guys the ropes a little bit. And if you can teach it, that means you already know it. And that's a good thing. You have to know what you're doing if you want to play at Georgia, especially at that linebacker spot, because, we talk all the time about the standard that you have to practice and play with at Georgia, but the standard's even greater at the linebacker spot when you're following guys like Roquan Smith and Nakobe Dean and Jalen Walker and so many other talented linebackers that have come through this program. There's a lot of eyeballs on you. And I mean, playing middle linebacker at Georgia is, one of the biggest positions across college football because you just expect whoever's playing that position to be one of the best in the country. And I do think they have that in CJ Allen and Raylan Wilson, two guys who, again, I think are going to be national names sooner than later. I know people in Athens, Georgia fans already know those two. People in the SEC already know those two, but it wouldn't surprise me if Raylan Wilson and CJ Allen were kind of Butkus Award watch guys. And it wouldn't surprise me if one of them were a Butkus Award finalist this year. That's how good they are. But I think Chris Cole and Justin Williams have that same type of potential. And again, at some point, you're going to have to get three or all four of those guys on the field at the same time because they are that good. And, these two young bucks, they're telling the staff, hey, I'm ready to play, right? I'm practicing hard. I'm giving that fire and that energy and that passion that you're looking for. We're bringing it. So I do think of all, Kirby Smart has his favorites, right? You go back, Roquan Smith, Nakobe Dean, Jalen Walker, the Butkus Award winners, they're obviously high on Kirby Smart's favorite players list. Nick Chubb, Sony Michel, those types. Kamari Lassiter, Javon Bullard in the secondary. I think, sooner rather than later, Chris Cole and Justin Williams are going to be on that list. He is extremely high on those guys. And, he's talking about an alpha. And Kirby Smart doesn't throw that word around. He doesn't really throw this praise around too often, especially for young players. You ask him about a young guy, freshman, sophomore, and it's always like, yeah, he's good, but he's got to get better. He's still learning. He's still working. We're still expecting more out of him. And they have to practice to the standard, right? He's always talking about how these young players aren't practicing to the level they want. Well, these two linebackers are doing exactly that. So it almost appeared like he was gushing over these two. And, he could have gone on and on and on if he wanted to. So, again, they were 5 stars for a reason. Justin Williams, number 1 linebacker out of high school in that 24 class. Chris Cole was ranked number 3 out of Virginia. So, again, 2 of the 3 best linebackers in high school football came to Georgia, and, they are living up to the hype. There's no doubt about it. And again, we saw Chris Cole 14 games last year. His length, athleticism, his understanding of the position, that got him on the field when they did have guys like Small Munden and Jalen Walker and Raylan Wilson and CJ Allen. Chris Cole still found a way to get on the field because he earned it. And Justin Williams kind of, had to sit on the bench a little bit longer, but he's not going to be sitting there for very long. So these guys are going to make an impact at some point. I think we're going to see a lot of these guys in the fall, even though they may not start a game. They could due to injury. I don't think they're going to start day one over those two, but they're going to make an impact. And if they continue to get better over the next several months, look out because this is starting to look like, once again, one of the best linebacker rooms in college football, and it's not even close, right? This is Linebacker University for a reason. They play for the best linebackers coach and probably the best defensive coordinator in college football, and they're only going to get better. And I think, sooner than later, they are going to see a good amount of the field and make their impact. So, Georgia fans should be really excited about these guys. Kirby Smart clearly is really excited about these guys, and he had a lot to say. Of course, you can read more about them and basically the rest of the team or recruiting notes over on Dawg Post. We've got the story up and ready. So for a more detailed written example of what these two are going to bring to the team and what they're already bringing to the team this spring, make sure you head over to Dawg Post. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it, and I'll see you on the next video.